Hi guys, it's Krista from Playing with a Purpose, and a few weeks ago I started a new series answering all of your questions. For the past several months I've been getting a lot of different questions from all of you, so I have been recording them and I will definitely continue working through all these questions. Today's questions are about mealtime. So the first question is, how do you engage children while they are waiting for you to serve lunch, breakfast, or snack? For me, this changes depending on which children I have in care at the time. So for instance, if I have a really young group, I may take a couple of children up with me while I just get things ready. Or if I have a little bit older group, more independent, then I will set them up with some table time activities, which is actually another question that we'll get to another day. Very simply, I give them an activity that they can do sitting down at a table, and I'll get more in depth about that on a different question and answer video. And if they're super young, sometimes I like to take them upstairs with me so that I have them close by. And then I might put on a little show for them to keep them occupied. The next question is, what do you typically make for meals? So in the summertime, I tend to do a lot more barbecues, snack plates, wraps, sandwiches, definitely more summer type things, some different salads. But in the fall and winter months, we tend to do a lot more warm meals. And so what I find works best for me is doubling up what I'm making for supper for my family so that the following day my daycare children can enjoy the same meal. That saves a lot of prep work for me and it makes things a lot smoother on the day of, so I'm not taking too much time to prepare. It's more just heating up. Another thing I love to do is freeze meals ahead of time. So for instance, sometimes I take like a half a day on a Saturday and put together a bunch of freezer meals. So here I have some shepherd's pie, and in this bag here I have everything prepped for a cream of chicken and wild rice soup. So all the ingredients are already in here, so you can see the rice and the mushrooms and all the vegetables, and everything is already prepped inside of here. So if I'm preparing something like this, I'll get it started in the morning when I get up, and then I'll just have it on a low simmer until lunchtime. I also love to freeze soup, so I'll make a couple of batches of different types of soup, and then I often just keep containers that I have, so even a yogurt container works really well. That makes mealtime a lot simpler and a lot quicker. One of the things that's really important to me is that I can serve healthy meals to my children, and often those meals do take a little bit of extra time. And so by making them ahead of time and freezing them, or double batching for my family and my daycare at the same time, definitely works well. Another question here is, do you accept children with allergies or food restrictions? So I actually have a lot of food restrictions myself. I'm allergic to some nuts. My daughter is also allergic to some nuts. And so it's something that I am actually really familiar with. Depending on what the food restrictions are, sometimes I just find it simpler and safer for the parents to handle their food. And so I would ask that the parents bring in the food for that child. When you have food restrictions, you begin to realize just how many different cross-contaminations are possible. And so if it's a very serious one, I definitely would ask that the parents bring in the food. From personal experience, it's easier for people that are not familiar with food allergies to make mistakes, errors with cross-contamination and stuff. And so personally, I find it safer for a parent to bring in the food for their child if they have severe allergies. Another question I get asked a lot is, how do you get children to eat healthy? We have very limited processed food here. I make almost everything from scratch. But for me, my philosophy is that a treat should be a treat, not something that we have every single day. They may bring in a treat for their birthday parties, or if we're having some sort of special occasion, then we will have some treats. But other than that, I buy very little processed food. But I thought today I would show you a couple of my favorite things to serve for snacks, for lunches, and I thought I would show you a couple of my favorite healthy go-to foods. For snacks, I tend to focus mainly on fruits, and so I'll literally just offer them a piece of fruit. So they might have a banana or an orange or some cut up melon. Most children love berries, and so we often have different types of berries. Also, most children love grapes. So these are types of foods that I almost always offer for a snack. Sometimes I make batches of homemade muffins, and that way I can control the ingredients that I put inside. I also love to give them different types of dried fruit. Depending on the ages of your children, you do have to be careful with dried fruit. If you have really young children, they probably can't have all dried fruits yet, so just be careful with that. I love serving cottage cheese. A lot of people forget about cottage cheese being a fantastic snack. It's high protein, lots of vitamin D, and tons of calcium. So this is a fantastic snack. I like pairing cottage cheese with some fruit. It tastes good with any type of fruit. You can put melons, you can put grapes, you can put berries, you could put applesauce. It really tastes good with almost anything. And I find a lot of times kids that have not been exposed to cottage cheese don't like it. And so it's just something that you might want to start small and work your way up. So if I'm introducing a food and I don't think it's going to be popular, I don't start with a whole serving. I just start with a tiny little bit. And if they want more, I give them more. And that way they have control over how much they want to eat. And you're not frustrated if they aren't eating. Yogurt is another fantastic snack. I personally find you need to be really careful with yogurt because they have all sorts of different types of yogurt out there today. And there is tons of yogurt that's packed with sugar. So I personally go for the plain yogurt. It only has 3 simple ingredients in it. So this is definitely a staple in our house. Any kind of nut butters, again, you got to be careful with allergies. But right now I have no allergies with almonds or peanut butter. And so we're actually able to eat this almond butter. Again, when I'm buying my nut butters, I try to stay away from anything that has added sugar. This Kirkland one from Costco is one of my favorites. So this one is super clean and the ingredients is just almonds. I'm sure you've also seen the Only Peanuts version made by Kraft. And so this is another one that I like to buy. Again, there's no added sugar and most children don't even miss it. Like I said, I try to stay away from processed foods, so I make most of my stuff from scratch, but I usually try to keep a couple of little things on hand in case I'm in a pinch and I don't have time. These little Triscuit minis are my go-to crackers. There's no artificial colors or flavors in this, and the ingredients on here are whole grain wheat, vegetable oil, sea salt. So 3 simple ingredients. These crackers taste great with peanut butter or almond butter, or even some pieces of cheese. So this is a great snack. I sometimes buy these almond flour crackers from Costco. These have pretty clean ingredients as well. And also I'm a big fan of these multi-grain Crunchmaster crackers. These crackers are gluten-free and they're packed full of different healthy seeds. And so these are definitely one of my favorites. These sweet potato chips are made by Farm Boy. They're old-fashioned kettle-cooked potato chips. And they literally have sweet potatoes, canola oil, and salt. So sometimes just adding a couple little chips on the children's plate makes their lunch that much more appetizing. I typically make my own homemade granola. I do buy these every now and again as a little treat. One of my favorite things to freeze in the winter is spaghetti sauce. I don't think I've ever looked after a child that doesn't love spaghetti. And so I just wanted to show you some of my favorite pastas. This one's a chickpea pasta. It has 23 grams of protein, so this is a really good one. I also have this black bean penne. This one's from Farm Boy, and it has 18 grams of protein in it. And it's just interesting because it's a different color. Catelli makes this one, and it's a tricolor pasta, and it's made with natural ingredients. And the last one is also from Farm Boy. It's a red lentil and beet rotini. It's also gluten-free and has 20 grams of protein in it. So I sometimes like to experiment with different pastas, and that way it's giving the children lots of protein and exposure to different tastes. With every lunch I serve, I like to add at least 1 or 2 vegetables to the plate. That way I'm not only adding color, but I'm also adding exposure to different foods. And so I'll just show you some of my favorites. Sometimes I slice up some tomatoes. Peppers is definitely a favorite. Avocado. My kids all love avocado. This is one of my favorite things to add to the plate. Broccoli and cucumber. So I always just try to make sure that I'm adding extra fruits and vegetables to everything I serve. That way the children are being exposed to a lot of different types of foods, different textures, and perhaps things that they don't eat at home. People eat differently, and so it's always good to try to expand the different types of food that we serve them. The last thing I'm going to share with you is one of my favorite go-to lunches in the summer, but we do eat this in the winter as well, and that's hummus. Costco has this pack with 16 little individual containers in them, and they're the perfect serving size for toddlers and preschoolers. And so you can just throw one of these on the plates, and you can reuse these little containers after for all sorts of things. And this has always been a super popular lunch for the children. They love having snack plates where there's lots of different types of foods on their plates. So you can add pita to the plate, lots of different vegetables, and one of these, and it kind of covers all the food groups. So I hope that answers all your questions about mealtime. If you do have any other questions, feel free to send them my way over at my Instagram account called Playing with a Purpose. I'll see you next time.